Hey, English 102, this is Professor Rand, and this is our reader response tutorial, which is basically here to show you how we want to go about doing our reader response this semester. There are three things that our tutorial is going to cover today. The first thing is we're going to cover how to read the assigned text critically. We're going to learn how to draft a response, and then we're going to learn how to respond to others' posts, thus creating a conversation, which is the goal of reader response. So, in step one, to read the assigned text critically, we need to do some critical reading. That means to make sure that you read closely in an attempt to develop your own understanding of the subject, and it may require you to possibly have to read something multiple times. To help with that, you should underline and highlight quotes or sections of text that stick out to you or seem very meaningful, and annotate or write in the margins at areas that you have comments on. This will help you draw material out of the text for your response, especially when you have to quote or paraphrase. Before we read, though, we have some things that we need to consider. We need to consider something called the writing context, which is comprised of three parts: subject, audience, and purpose. Subject basically as to what is the piece essentially about. Audience, who is it written for? Consider the tone the author takes and the time in which it is written. And finally, purpose. Why do you think that the author wrote this? For our sample, you might ask, who is the author, which is Mark Twain. And if you aren't really familiar, you might do a little bit of light informal research on the author's history. If you simply just put his name into Google and click through, you should be able to find sufficient information. So you read the text, and after you read, when you finish up, you're going to want to reflect on the reading in your notes. You're going to want to ask a few questions. Do you see a progression of ideas or the development of an argument? Or could you break it down into a series of main points? This is a technique that many like to call reverse outlining, meaning taking a fully written piece and sort of reducing it back to an outline. And then maybe ask, what type of evidence do they use? Does it appeal to our sense of logic? Does it appeal to our sense of emotions or ethics? So once you've done all that, you're ready now to draft your response. So first and foremost, it is important to always consider the guide questions that I pose. That's kind of the direction I want our discussion to go. For the sample, they are A, how do opinions form according to Twain? Provide a quote supporting your conclusion. And B, do you believe all opinions are derived from this manner? Offer some reasoning why or why not. So when we actually get down to writing the real response, you want it to be about 3 to 5 sentences. Give me proper spelling, grammar, and sentence structure. Of course, that's something I'm going to be looking for. Put it in paragraph form. All in all, I'm looking for something called an informed response to the text. So now we want to define what that is. An informed response, what I mean is, if you look over here in the left column, you show your understanding of the question, you show engagement with the text, and then you react to the text. So now you might be asking, okay, how do I do that? How do I make a response informed? Check out the right column. First, you want to generally restate the question and briefly provide your answer to the question. Then you'll want to provide a quote or paraphrasing that supports those answers. And then you'll want to explain how that quote or paraphrasing supports your conclusions. Here's an example. If you take a look back here where we have points 1, 2, and 3, we have 1, 2, and 3 here essentially answered. Now, I would want your actual post to look more like this, as one big block paragraph. I'm going to give you guys time if you want, so click the pause button if you'd like to read the responses to these. You can also refer back to the actual PowerPoint slides that I posted on Blackboard. If you're ready to go, let's move on. Be sure to post on discussion board once you're finished. You'll want to find the correct forum, and this one's called Sample Reader Response Twain, and then click Create Thread on the following page. And the Create Thread button, I believe, is in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. So then we're going to want to respond to others' posts. So if we remember, the goal of this whole thing is to create a conversation about the topic. And to do this, we got to respond to what other people are saying. Now, I want you guys to remember that for the sample reader response, you do not have to respond to another post, but simply find one that you agree with and write the author's name down, okay, and bring that to class. We'll be doing an activity with that. So who do we respond to? We can respond to posts we agree or disagree with, posts that use the same quote or section of text, posts that pique your interest. You know, I don't want to limit at all what you guys respond to. I want to stimulate conversation in this class. But these are three guiding things right here that can really help you identify a post that you can respond to. So when we write the response, give me about 1 to 2 sentences in response to the author's post. It can be your opinion or reaction. No restating or quoting is necessary. Be sure once again to use proper spelling, grammar, and sentence structure because we do want this to be practiced for essay writing. And so say you find a post that you really like and there's already a response on it. So should you move on to one that does not have a response? No. Feel free to respond to responses. This is obviously how conversations get started. And remember, the goal of this assignment is to start a conversation outside of our class on the discussion board. Here's an example response to our sample response to quote-unquote opinions. If you'd like to take some time to read it, I recommend you click pause and take a chance to read it. Want to do with this response is you would want to take it, click reply under the original post, and then put your response there and then click post. In summary, for reader response, what we want to do is we want to do this in 3 steps. First, read the assigned text critically, and we learned that it happens before, during, and after reading. Then we want to draft a response, particularly what we call an informed response. Finally, we want to respond to others' posts, creating a conversation. As I've said throughout, the goal is to form a variety of discussions on a topic outside of our class.